Rowe is here, and Trustee Rowe is here. John Newman said he'd be a few minutes late. The first item on the agenda is the Fire Department honors. Chief?
Good evening, everyone. We have a special occasion here this evening. Firefighter Aiden Johnson has completed his 1 year of probation, and this makes a historical moment in the fire department. When you first come in, you're expected to follow orders, learn everything you can that the fire academy didn't teach you in Ypsilanti Township. So he is proficient in his EMS skills, attending to sick people and injured people. He is proficient with our standard operating guidelines and the township policies and procedures, as well as how we advance hose lines and attack fires. So I brought him up in front of you folks tonight just for recognition. And we also have his grandfather and his grandmother, Diane, his grandfather, Ken. Kind of a special notice on that. Back when I first started in the fire service in 1996, Captain Johnson was my first captain. Aww, so we have his grandson here in Ypsilanti Township. So I thought instead of me handing him his badge tonight, I would hand his badge to his grandpa, and his grandpa can do the official pinning on of the badge. Okay. I'm still going to call you captain, sir. All right. Give me a hook. Job well done.
Congratulations.
And thank you for sharing that special moment with the fire department. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, Madam Supervisor, if they'll send me their cell phone number, I'll send the pictures I just took.
Perfect. I will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
The next item is the approval of the agenda. A motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Rowe. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the March 18th, 2025 regular meeting and statements and checks.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support.
support Thornton. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 is the attorney's report. Any general legal update, Mr. Winters?
Madam Chair, there's quite a few updates that I share with the board on a regular basis via the correspondence that you all receive. Just some highlights right now on some of the past items. We continue to try and get our arms around the issue at the Arbor 1 apartments. These are the apartments that were inspected by the Office of Community Compliance. They are 2 units over there, totaling 6 apartments, I believe, that were burned out in 2023, and those are still not under contract. Building official Belders continues to work with Mr. Beal's company, who's supposed to be obtaining the contracts for us to approve. In the meantime, we continue to also be concerned about the amount of water which is under the crawl space in one of the in the units that house approximately 5 apartment units. That water has been tested. We're concerned with some of the testing results from the actual water to the point where it may have to be trucked off site as opposed to discharged into the storm sewer. We're waiting for more information from the Brighton Analytical Laboratories that tested that water, and more importantly, we're still trying to find out where the source of the water is coming from. So it's taken longer than what we would like to see in terms of having contractual commitments lined up especially given the fact these fires occurred back in 2023, but we continue to monitor that. Chief Building Official Bellers and Community Compliance Director Kingsley continue also to work hand in glove with all the inspectors, and they keep our office informed as to where we stand, and we will continue to keep the board updated. In regards to the planning department, there continues to be a great number of ongoing and incoming requests for development-related issues, one of which I believe should be coming before this township board at the April 15th meeting. As many of you are aware, the Sheets Fuel Plaza is going to break ground on their property on Michigan Avenue, and they will have a development agreement that will be presented to the township board on April 15th. Planning consultant Sally Elmiger continues to do a magnificent job, along with Lauren Dupke and other people in their office, to handle the incoming number of requests that are development related. But the Sheets has been the one that has been has been a long time coming, and they have continued to work in good faith and due diligence with the township engineers and other reviewing agencies and meeting all of our criteria. And they want to break ground this coming spring, and this should be a great development for the traveling public to utilize. In addition, the Culver's Restaurant is scheduled for a hearing at the ZBA tomorrow evening, with a follow-up meeting before the Planning Commission the following week. They too are continuing to press forward in a way that they really want to get their development underway this spring and summer as well. So again, all these are great problems to have, but it's also one that requires the township officials as well as the staff to make sure all the ordinances are being followed. We also were notified by the Road Commission that in regards to the new Holiday Inn that's being proposed on Joe Hall Drive, that the owner and the developer are prepared to sign a road improvement agreement wherein they will be financially responsible for the installation of another signal at the Joe Hall Drive, South Huron Street intersection. Eventually, those signals will all be synchronized in a way to ensure the traffic will move smoothly. Since we also have the traffic signals at where Aldi's is located right now on Brinker Drive, as well as James Elhart Parkway. But again, development brings with those issues traffic improvements. It's important that they be synchronized in a way that we don't have undue backups or traffic congestion. On the labor front, the township HR department with Karen Wallen and Erica Holmes and myself and township officials have also been involved in negotiating for some time a new contract for the TPOAM. That's for township employees. That contract has been tentatively approved by the union bargaining committee for the TPOAM and is scheduled for a union vote this coming Thursday. In the event that contract is approved by the union membership, it will be presented to the township board, and it may require a special board meeting in April, only because of the timing as to when their meeting occurs and when the next board meeting is for the township, which is April 15th, and we may wish to have that contract considered by the board in the month of April as opposed to waiting until May. I'll leave that to the board's discretion as to the timing of that, but obviously there's an awful lot going on simultaneously, from public nuisance enforcements to development-related matters to union negotiations, arbitrations, and so there's a full plate for everybody. So thank everybody for their assistance and due diligence in assisting our office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. Under new business, we have number 1, accept and sign the Washtenaw County lease agreement for temporary use of 14A2 courtroom and office space.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge, support Rowe.
Good evening. It's working. So hello to the members of the board and Supervisor Stumbo. And first, I want to start by thanking you all for the space that you have been providing to the 14B District Court during the ongoing renovations. You've made very graciously available the boardroom for the judge to use and that whole hallway, and we very much appreciate that. I also wanted to thank Treasurer Eldridge specifically for his assistance cutting through much of the red tape to get us to this point, where we have a proposed lease with Washtenaw County. So, as you are aware, the judge is currently using the boardroom to handle her docket. That didn't leave space for me to handle mine, so we came up with a number of ideas and were actually able to use space at the 14A2 District Court, which is the one that's located in downtown Ypsilanti. They have a magistrate courtroom and office space that's used very infrequently. I think they have someone in there for a docket about once a month. So Judge Barr had reached out when he heard about the renovations and had offered to let us use it, but that needed to go through Washtenaw County. So the proposed lease it was attached, so it's for $0 every month, which you can't get much better than that. And it's meant to last up through about December 21st. We anticipate the renovations being done by that point, hopefully well before that point. So if we need to, we would be able to reach out to extend it, but I don't foresee that being necessary. The 14B District Court also has the insurance endorsement added so that anything that I have taken over there, that my recorder has taken over there, is covered through the insurance policy that we already had with the township, and that was also at no additional cost. So.
Thank you. Questions or comment? Mr. Winters, have you reviewed the agreement?
Yes, I have reviewed the agreement. Thank you very much. The only question I had earlier today was with the actual signatories of the contract. I think the contract probably should be between the Washtenaw County and Ypsilanti Township as opposed to Washtenaw County 14B. It's more of a form as opposed to the substance and everything. But that's the only comment I would have. Make sure the insurance is there, as you indicated. But that's the only comment that I can add to what appears to be a very good arrangement.
Okay, thank you. And
We can just add our signatures.
okay. I do have one follow-up question then. If I send this back to get it revised, would this need to come back before the board again, or could we okay. Thank you.
So we have a motion and support to approve it with the understanding that the township signatures would be on there as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Number
Thank you.
2 is Resolution 2025-07, which is authorized property sale to Charlie Abelson, which is located at 1687 Emerson.
I'd so move approval of Resolution 2025-07.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Thornton. Clerk Swanson? Would you like to read the resolution?
Sorry. Resolution 2025-07, authorizing the Charter Township of Ypsilanti to sell to purchaser Charlie Marie Abelson one vacant parcel located at 1687 Emerson Avenue, whereas the Charter Township of Ypsilanti holds title to a vacant parcel located at 1687 Emerson Avenue, title of which includes the legal description of the vacant parcel as follows: K-11-14-482-002, 1687 Emerson Avenue, Ypsilanti, Michigan, 48198, with a legal description of YP number 104-890, lot 1210 Watsonia Park Sub, and the north half of the vacated street located south of said lot. And whereas on January 28, 2025, Charlie Marie Abelson requested of the Township of Ypsilanti Assessing Department to purchase the vacant lot as described above, which she intends to combine with the residential property located at 1669 Emerson Avenue. And whereas at a regular board meeting held on the first day of April 2025, the Ypsilanti Township Board of Trustees authorized the sale of the vacant lot, which according to the market valuation report prepared by Deputy Assessor Brian McCleary, dated January 28, 2025, was valued at $4,000. And whereas on the 18th day of March 2025, purchaser Charlie Marie Abelson signed the proposed purchase agreement, a copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated by reference, in which the purchaser will remit to the township the sum of $4,000 in accordance with the market valuation report dated January 28, 2025. Now therefore, the Ypsilanti Charter Township Board of Trustees hereby resolves as follows. 1, that the Township Board accepts the purchase offer submitted hereto and authorizes the execution of the purchase agreement by Supervisor Brenda L. Stumbo and Clerk Deborah A. Swanson. 2, that the Township authorizes Supervisor Stumbo and Clerk Swanson to execute all documents required by Cicelo Title to effectuate the transfer of the vacant parcel to purchaser Charlie Marie Abelson once a closing date has been scheduled. 3, that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded to Cicelo Title as set forth in paragraph 23 of the purchase agreement.
Brian McCleary is here to answer any questions. Are the petitioners here?
No, they're not.
Okay. Any questions?
So this is the adjacent lot on Emerson Street that we've actually been negotiating a little bit with the property owner. It is a 70-foot lot, but there is a utility easement with a power line running through it, which makes the property unbuildable, and so it makes it ideal for the side lot program where Ms. Abelson is going to then buy the property, combine it, and use it as her, and maintain it, and we'll be able to put it on the assessment roll.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is to approve the agreement with Munivate LLC for the reconciliation of the bond and escrow accounts in the BS&A building module, not to exceed $11,100, which is budgeted. Motion Eldridge, support Rowe.
Hi, Giovanna Newell, Accounting Director. So I've asked to approve Munivet to come in and help us do an in-depth analysis to do a reconciliation with our bonds and escrow account. The reason being we did not integrate that system until recently, and so we've got a little things that we need to work on to reconcile.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is Resolution 2025-08, which is Boards and Commission appointments to Washtenaw County Recycling Management Authority, WARMA.
I would author a motion to approve resolution number 2025-08, appointing to the Washtenaw Regional Recycling Management Authority John Hines as a delegate with the expiration date at the pleasure of the board, and Brenda Stumble, alternate at the pleasure of the board. I would so move that resolution.
Motion Rowe.
Support.
Support Eldridge. Mr. Newman of Knight. Questions or comments? I think she read it. She kind of,
Yeah, I did read it.
she kind of read it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is Resolution 2025-09, support for the 2025 Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund application.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Thornton. Mr. Hines?
Good evening, John Hines, Municipal Service Director. This resolution is a request for the board to support an application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for a 50% match for the project that focuses on the North Bay Park Boardwalk Trail improvements. This would be to replace the boardwalk that is along North Bay Waterway and the 6 bridges that go along the islands. Due to the age of the park, the wood has just become very hard for our team to manage and repair. So this would give a fresh start and of course then be ADA compliant. The grant is due today, actually. The 50% match is for $351,000, and this just commits us that if we were to be awarded, that the township would be in support of the grant. By submitting today, we would hear from the DNR sometime around August if we were to receive this grant. And this would be for a 2026 construction cycle.
Questions or comment? Yeah, we have to read it, because it has to go to the, yes, Clerk Swanson, I'm sorry.
Resolution 2025-09, resolution of support for the 2025 MDNR Grant Land and Water Conservation Fund application. Whereas this board is committed to providing quality parkland and trails to its residents and visitors and approved the 2024 Recreation Master Plan, and whereas this board recognizes that the 2024 Recreation Master Plan has identified the resurfacing of North Bay Park Boardwalk Trail as a priority project, and whereas this board wishes to utilize the MDNR Land and Water Conservation Fund for a matching grant to resurface and improve the North Bay Park Boardwalk Trail for safety improvements, and whereas this board acknowledges it has received a cost estimate in the form of an engineer's probable cost statement and anticipates the resurfacing and improvement of North Bay Park Boardwalk Trail in accordance with the specification of the grant application in the amount of $702,000. Now therefore be it resolved that this board supports the pursuit of the MDNR Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application and will provide the match to the grant if approved in the amount of $351,000.
Questions or comments? I know Beth is here. It was our contract.
Beth from Ernett Consulting is here, and she helped prepare all the documentation as part of this grant. And the estimates that were used were originally provided by Midwest Consulting and Stantec in 2023. So the number of the $702,000 is extrapolating those numbers to 2025 construction estimates.
And my understanding is we can also apply for other grant fundings to help with the match.
Yes, that's correct.
And this was in the 2024 Parks and Recreation Master Plan to upgrade it. It's one of the best parks, or it's used by so many people in the community, and the boardwalk is aging.
Yeah, it's about 30 years old now, and I mean, it's definitely one of the most popular attractions of Ypsilanti Township, as viewed by a lot of the folks that mentioned the Parks and Rec Master Plan, and this was the top priority. And we just don't want it to become a safety concern, more so than it is, because our team does go out to repair it. But with the amount of wood that's rotted underneath the boards, sometimes it takes an extra effort to get it to connect and fasten. And we just, again, don't want it to become a point where we have to shut down the use of that beautiful boardwalk.
Neither do we. We agree. All right. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 is Resolution 2025-10, which is support of the 2025 Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund Grant application.
Still move support of the resolution 25-10.
Support.
A motion, Rowe. Support, Eldridge.
Good evening. So this would be support for a separate MDNR trust fund application that would go coincide with the Land and Water Conservation Grant. So this would focus on the North Bay Park Pavilion and then pathway down to the boardwalk. Both those, like the boardwalk, have been around for about 30 years and have seen a little better days. So with the pavilion, this will focus to rehabilitate the bathrooms as well as the concrete around the shelter and any structural issues that might have risen because of the concrete starting to sink. The pathway is currently not ADA, so we would make it ADA as well and smooth it out because there are some parts that are starting to fade away a little bit. So This project estimate is for $617,200, so 50% match would be $308,600. And like the Land and Water Conservation, we would only be committing to fund if we are awarded, which would be in August. And this would be for a 2026 construction cycle, and I would imagine we will bid them together. But we'll discuss that if awarded.
Read it in the record. Resolution 20, yes, no? Do you want me to start? I didn't know if you wanted to, if anybody had questions. Check on that first. Okay. Resolution 2025-10, resolution of support for the 2025 MDNR Trust Fund application. Whereas this board is committed to providing quality parkland and trails to its residents and visitors and approve the 2024 Recreation Master Plan. And whereas this board recognizes that the 2024 Recreation Master Plan has identified the replacement of the North Bay Park Pavilion and restaurants as a priority project, and whereas the board wishes to utilize the MDNR Trust Fund for a matching grant to replace the North Bay Park Pavilion and restrooms as a key park amenity, and whereas this board acknowledges it has received a cost estimate in the form of an engineer's probable cost statement and anticipates the demolition and construction of the North Bay Park Pavilion and restrooms in accordance with the specification in the grant application in the amount of $617,200. Now therefore be it resolved that this board supports the pursuit of the MDNR Trust Fund grant application and will provide the match to the grant if approved in the amount of $308,600.
Questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, trustee Rowe?
I was just wondering, because I read that it's replacement, then I heard repair the pavilion, so I didn't know. Do we know for sure if we're replacing it or just repairing it? The actual
The
pavilion.
original estimate's for repair.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm just concerned to make sure that it stays the size that we currently have, because I've been to several events with outings, and the picnic tables are always full. And I noticed, I really brought it up too because of the Textile Road Park where we put such a much smaller one there where they have huge family reunions, but they won't be able to have at that park anymore. So just want to really make sure that we keep the size the same, that we don't make it smaller.
So just to clarify, the recommendation was a complete replacement in the same footprint and the same size. So there would be no change, but because of the degradation, I can't say that word, because the structure is degrading, they are recommending a complete replacement of the structure. So they can't replace just the restrooms without taking the overhead pavilion as well. But the size wouldn't change and the exact location wouldn't change at all.
I was just wondering, in comparison to the cost of the one that we did on Lakeview, it just doesn't seem like a lot of money to me to be able to keep that same size to hold that many picnic tables and for brand new bathrooms and things.
So it doesn't require a lot of earth moving because it is a replacement. So it's essentially just taking the concrete out and then repouring the concrete and reusing what can be used of the structure. So some of the brick and the concrete is reusable, but the roof is in very poor condition. And the structure itself is limited because it is an open shelter pavilion. So this is the estimate that they provided. The estimate increased last year by 25% and then increased again I increased it again this year by an additional 25%.
Thank you.
Yes.
Probably right.
Clerk Swanson?
If I'm hearing this question right, the concrete that's kind of under the pavilion, the roof, but then there's the bathroom structure that's like cinder block or whatever, that part's not going to be demolished? That part's going to maintain, or is it going to be demolished?
It would be demolished and then the cinder block can be reused.
Okay.
So the actual structure has moved, according to Stantec's structural report, it's moved off of the base. So the whole structure has
Okay.
moved. So they can reuse some of the building materials, but not reuse the structure.
Okay.
So the bathrooms would be completely new.
Because I do agree with trustee Lovejoy Rowe's assessment of the cost, because when we looked at the pavilion for, is it Lakeview that we replaced the pavilion?
Lakeside.
Lakeside,
Thank-
that it is substantially different than what was there. So have things come down, or?
So building materials did come down in between 2023 and 2024, though we're anticipating them to rise again 30%. So there's approximately a 20% drop, and then we're expecting 30% on top of where we're at now.
Okay.
So we won't know until we actually bid the project.
But we did try to pad it sufficiently.
Okay. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is Resolution 2025-11, which is support of Washtenaw County Office of Community Economic Development, the Woodlawn Cemetery restoration.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge, support Swanson.
Good evening. My name is Kat Slocum. I'm the Historic Preservationist for Washtenaw County. I'm in the Office of Community and Economic Development, and I'm the staff for the Historic District Commission. The Woodlawn Cemetery came upon our radar, and it's actually just a few parcels down from us here. It's at 7800 South Huron River Drive. It is an abandoned cemetery. It's the African-American cemetery that was utilized by Ypsi residents for quite some time prior to desegregation. The property contains at least 150 burials that we know of, though you wouldn't recognize it from the road. It just kind of looks like an abandoned lot. So this property has been kind of in an odd limbo of ownership. It's technically in an abandoned lot. It doesn't fall under any purview of any authorities because it was privately owned cemetery. So the Washtenaw County Historic District Commission is interested in completing a restoration of the project with our funding as well as grants that we're applying for. And we're seeking for just collaboration with Ypsi Township with the end goal of also shifting perpetual maintenance to Ypsi Township, which we're already grateful has already been in place with mowing the lawn twice a year. So just kind of maintaining that and having it written down. The project includes a lot of different phases, and there's a restoration plan that I welcome individuals to glance at. But the thing I really want to make present and paramount here is that it's a community-based and driven plan. So we're working with multiple community partners, including the African American Cultural Historical Museum of Washtenaw County, Second Baptist Church, descendants of those that were buried there, the Washtenaw County Veterans Association, because there are 14 veterans that we know of that are buried there as well, the Washtenaw County Conservation District, which we're applying for a grant to, at our last stages, install native plants and pollinator spaces. And then we're also working to integrate this with the Black Heritage Project that is currently in place in Ypsi, which has these interpretive panels that highlight African American heritage in Ypsi. So we want to install heritage panels at this location as well so that people can learn about the history of this space. The restoration plan is quite in-depth, and I encourage if you'd like to learn some history of the area. But it also includes restoration of the headstones that are at the property. There are only presently about 12 that are visible. Others are submerged under the soil. We're currently working with Terracon to do a community-based fundraising program that they have where they provide ground-penetrating radar so that we can locate where all of those burials are and the headstones so that we can restore those. So, thank you.
Excellent. Questions or comment?
Any comment?
Trustee Rowe?
I know that this has been an ongoing thing, I mean, for a long, long time, decades. And so it's really, as residents came in, they had loved ones buried there, and trying to find a solution. So however it landed on your lap, I sure am glad that, I think it's very, very exciting to be glad to be a part of this project.
Thank you. And if I can respond, I want to really give thanks to the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners who boosted our funding this year. So with that funding, this is the project that we're taking on.
Great. Sure, of course.
I wondered, like, with the universities around, like, this looks like a project that would be great for students to be looking at from, like, an archaeology, not that you're going to dig things up, but just finding where things are and learning from that. Is there any chance that you guys are going to work with anybody, any students at the university, so they could have the opportunity to learn from this?
Yes, absolutely. So we're also working with EMU Preservation Department. So they have historic preservation students who are interested in researching the individuals that we can determine are located there. We're also working with the Ypsi Historical Society, and I've reached out to U of M. They offered ground penetrating radar, but we currently have that through Terracon, the company that we're going to utilize. So we're hoping to incorporate them in community events. So we're going to have volunteer days where we encourage people to come out because we will need help clearing a lot of that land. It's exceptionally costly, and we can't use heavy machinery. So we really need the community. So those will regularly be posted throughout the websites, all of those organizations that I listed previously. And Lori has been a wonderful help, and we'll share those as well with residents of Ypsi Township.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a comment. I think
Trustee Newman?
Oh, thank you. I think it's a very, what I want to say, good thing that it's not only restoring the land, but it's giving those that are buried dignity and their loved ones dignity. And the fact that it'll be restored to a cemetery that you can read, everybody that doesn't have a headstone, that those will be restored, those stones of people that are buried there. So I think that's very good. And any sort of volunteering, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Resolution number 2025-09, whereas there is a historic abandoned cemetery within the boundary of Ypsilanti Township, and whereas the cemetery is located on parcel K-11-21-403-001, commonly known as 7800 South Huron River Drive, and whereas it does not appear that there is a legal owner of this property, and whereas the cemetery is not active, meaning that no new burials are or will take place on this property, and whereas Ypsilanti Township recognizes the historic importance of the cemetery, including the fact that many veterans and African Americans who were central to the development and history of Ypsilanti Township were buried here, and whereas Ypsilanti Township was approached by the Washtenaw County Office of Community and Economic Development with a Woodlawn Cemetery restoration plan, and whereas the plan brought forward looks to be well thought out and sustainable, and now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti Township Board of Trustees is in support of the Washtenaw County Office of Community and Economic Development to implement their Woodlawn Cemetery restoration plan.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The next item is to approve the Amendment 1 of the Municipal Solid Waste Recycling and Yard Waste Contract with Waste Management for an extension of 5 years.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge. Support Swanson. John?
Good evening, John Hines, Municipal Service Director. The Residential Services Department is requesting authorization to approve Amendment 1 for the Municipal Solid Waste Recycling and Yard Waste Agreement with Waste Management with an additional 5 years to the existing agreement. This extension has been reviewed by Attorney Winters, and this amendment would go into effect on May 1st for the initial part of the extension, which would solidify one issue that we're having with Waste Management in regards to the recycled waste disposal part of the billing. And then the rest would go into effect on October 1st, which is after this initial 5-year agreement that was signed in November of 2020 is set to expire. So this agreement with Waste Management was put together after considerable communication regarding some of the good things going on with our agreement, some of the problems we're having with the agreement, and there are 3 key things that this amendment is set to, I'd say, highlight and fix, and they are listed below. And first is the recycled waste disposal. So this is the 4th, I'd say, kind of standard charge that goes into our bills when it comes to residential housing. Our existing agreement is a variable price that gets charged monthly by Waste Management. And that unfortunately has caused some billing issues we've had to rectify after the fact. And in our meetings with Waste Management, they proposed a fixed 96-cent charge per household that would go for the existing life of the agreement starting on May 1st. So instead of, for example, April 2025, we get the bill next month, it might be 13 or it might be 18 or somewhere in between. This 96 cent per household will be the charge per household going forward. They got to that number by utilizing the 2024 variable pricing and do an average of all 12 months. So the fact that they're going to hold this for all 5 years is, I think, very generous of them.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is the contamination cost of recycling that they started charging us. And like you said, it goes from $140,000 a year to $230,000, and this will eliminate that to make it a 0.96 cent charge per household.
That's correct. We saw an increase in that charge
17.
after our recycling partnership went into effect. We saw an increase in recycling, but then we also saw an increase in recycle waste disposal, which is the disposal of all contaminated recycling. So that would not only fix this variable pricing that we've had to fix, but would also make our billing much more transparent, and we would just get one bill per month with all of the prices combined. The second highlight of that is they would hold our existing pricing for the 2025-2026 year to what our current yearly year of pricing is for 2024-2025. So we get 1 year with no increase, and then the additional 4 years after that, it's going to be slightly less than 4%. Over the life of the contract, utilizing Accounting Director Giovanna Neal's projections that you put together for the millage discussions, we're going to save around $845,000 compared to if we were going to go out on the open market and go out for bid. The second thing that this amendment fixes is our bulk pickup. Currently, residents have to contact Waste Management or they contact our office to schedule bulk pickup with Waste Management. And unfortunately, I would say it causes at least half of our calls that we get per week of issues with Waste Management just because of confusion or something got missed. So this amendment, again, starting May 1st, would give one resident one free bulk item per week that they don't have to schedule beforehand. They can just put on the curb back the way that it was before. Any additional that's left out would be a charge that is between Waste Management and the resident. Then the third thing that this amendment covers is the, I would say, ancillary pricing, and that's going to be pricing for the township's 6-yard dumpster, our 6-yard recycle, at this site, at the compost. Again, there's a breakdown in the proposal, but all of those charges will go into effect on October 1st, 2026. That also includes the prices per resident for any additional carts that they get outside of our agreement. Overall, and as being part of WARMA, as mentioned earlier, the price proposal that Waste Management gave us was, I would say, very favorable and very fair, and if it is beneficial for us to go with the amendment to a service provider that we've utilized since 2001, then go out for a bid, because the pricing from what I've seen from WARMA, this I would say is on average between $3 and $6 cheaper per household.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. Christina Reeves on Laurie Street. Will we still have to wrap in plastic the bulk?
You would have to, and that's more so a sanitary thing for all the drivers. I know it's a little bit of a timed process.
That's a mattress.
Even wood stuff? No, they want furniture and everything.
It's only if it's got fabric.
Okay, fabric. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like a mattress or a couch.
Okay.
Good question. Other questions or comments? I think it's great to proceed with this, especially in light of everything that's going on in the state and the federal government, to lock in our charges so we can project for the millages that are up for renewal this year. And having a bulk pickup and just putting it out like we used to is going to be a great reinstatement of a process, because it was a nightmare before. So I think it's great. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 9 is approve the contracts with Destination Ann Arbor for RowFest 2025 and the Ford Lake Regatta to be held on Ford Lake.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge, support Thornton.
Good evening, John Hines. And also in attendance is Mike Price from Destination Ann Arbor, as well as Megan Hughes. And both of these agreements are follow-up to the special event applications that the boards approved back in August 30th of 2024. So the contracts have finally been prepared after much back and forth between Mike and his team and the Township, as well as EMU. I know earlier yesterday, Attorney Winters sent back some notes on the Ford Lake Cup Regatta agreement, which is for the event that's set to be held later on this month, and made some notes which Mike agreed to update. So that updated agreement will be sent to the clerk's office after the meeting tonight. And then also the RowFest contract, which is to be held July 11th through 20th, 2025. That one is still pending on contingent on final attorney review. But again, we've had considerable conversations and plan to continue that. And again, Mike is here to add any additional context or answer any questions you might have about both these events.
Questions or comments? Just so I'm clear, we have approval from the attorney for the regatta, and the RowFest will be contingent upon attorney approval. Is that correct?
That's correct. And part of that was they were kind enough to share their agreement with U.S. Rowing with us last week. So that has also been sent to the attorney for review. So it's just making sure that both those agreements align with Township's goals as well as the event goals. And, you know, everything, again, is on the understanding of what's being promised to be delivered at our park and not restrict access for the residents too much during the event. And that's one thing I would like to add, that there's been a lot of communication and plans for public output regarding mailings or doing public meetings. And I know I sent in an email to the board earlier, a draft of a sign that EMU has been kind enough to put together with our input that we want to post at all of the Ford Lake touching parks. That way, all the residents know about the buoys that are on the lake and know that they are safe to be around, but just give some information on their background as well as information on the do's and don'ts around them.
John, may I add something to that?
Please.
I'd also add, too, we want this to be a community engagement event. We're actually planning and programming a Learn to Row event around this. We want to bring students out and participate in this rowing event. We want to bring the community out. We encourage people in and around the lake to come out and watch and spectate in their boats on the lake. The lake will still have access to residents and those that want to use the lake. That's clearly defined in the agreement, but also an outcome that us and U.S. Rowing both want to see. We want this to be an engaging, exciting, fun event for the community and showcase our community to these folks that are coming in from across the country to see how wonderful our community is. So we want them to engage on each side of the aisle, if you will.
Thank you. And just for the person who does the minutes, your
Yes, Mike Price, Executive Vice President, Destination Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Are there other comments or questions regarding this?
I have a question.
Clerk's.
I had a question.
Trustee Rowe, then Clerk Swanson.
I had a question. I know that you can see the RowFest agreement. I'm kind of confused. Then there's a facility use agreement, but then the actual agenda item talks about a Ford Lake Regatta. Is there a separate agreement for that? I see a Ford Lake use agreement in the packet. Is that for the regatta? Because it talks about April. Is April the regatta?
April's the regatta, yes.
Okay, and then, so the first agreement that's in the packet is actually for July. Okay, I got you.
And just,
It just didn't refer to it as the regatta, it refers to it as a use agreement.
And just to add a little bit of additional context, since again, this original special event applications were approved back in August, the Ford Lake Cup Regatta is just going to be a 1.5-day event, much more local. it's 5 teams?
Yeah, so we have 8 collegiate teams that'll be participating, coming in. Competition will be on Saturday with some setup on that Friday before. It's much more in the vein of what traditional EMU regatta would be on the lake. Very low impact, but it's a great opportunity for us to figure out the kinks in the process and the course and make sure we have everything in alignment for that larger event in July. So it's a really good test point for us to work through that event, but a smaller event. So that's the April event that'll occur with those 8 teams, and then the July event is the Row Fest event in partnership with U.S. Rowing.
Just one other thing.
Trustee Rowe.
Any of the community events that you talked about, or even just the schedule, can we just make sure that not just the board members, but that's put on our website so our residents can know and be invited, especially the things that you're trying to engage them in?
100%, and that's, again, wanting to do a mailing once the agreement is finally approved and signed, just to give opportunities for the residents to send stuff back, but also set up a time for them to come meet us here at the community center and ask their questions in person. We really want to be as forthcoming and honest as possible and open as possible, because I know when it comes to lake access, a lot of individuals along the lake get concerned and think they can't use the park when they will be able to for a majority of the event.
So you'll be able to, I'm sorry, can I follow up? So you'll be able to, I heard you say, you'll be able to, like, if you have a boat, will it be certain times, or will that be in all the instructions of when you can get in? And then, just kind of a second one, where is the viewing area for the public, and is there a charge?
So really good questions. Yes, that'll all be laid out in the communications that we send out and on the maps that are present with that. Lake access will be clearly identified. Parking will be clearly identified for the public to still have access to. There's not a fee to access the lake. There's a parking fee if you're parking for U.S. Rowing down there in that space. We're working through with the township that access point and how that works, but that'll all be very clearly communicated on how that comes together with all of that information on the flyers and on the maps, and communicated ahead of time as well. We want to make sure we have some public sessions where people can ask those questions and get those answers well ahead of time as well.
So if you have your normal boat pass and stuff, is that used that day, or do you have to get something special?
That day, you would still want the special event application if the event's still going on.
Thank you.
Clerk Swanson.
So thank you for explaining the community part. When you guys came the last time, my concern was the idea that we did some things without getting a lot of public input. And so it's really important to get public input. My concern is that even this is kind of like it was created without getting public input. So if what I heard you say, John, is that there'll be information shared with the community, and there'll still be opportunities for them to give input where you can make adjustments if you thought that was necessary. Is that true or not true?
I would say for the most part, yes. Again, there's going to be some times when the competition is going to happen that we will have to not allow them to use our boat launch. But other than that, there will be, and of course, any input's welcome. And, I don't think it's unfair to say that a rowing event of this magnitude is, new for us, new for the township, and there's going to be some learning and growing on site. But I think with the open communication that we're going to be able to figure out a way to, again, best benefit the event going on, the township, and the residents utilizing the park.
Well, I think that part of the concern was that I shared, when you guys came the last time, was the idea that we do have people in the community who have more knowledge than even we might as board members. So having an opportunity for that kind of input, for people to be hearing ideas and thoughts about things that maybe we don't know about, helps, because we can plan an event, and if we don't have that opportunity to get information before we plan it, we're still going to be in the spot we were, that I talked about last time when we put it in. The other thing that I don't see listed here is the idea of the course and how long the course can be left out there. So when Eastern came, they told us that it would be down within a certain time frame, and that didn't happen. So I think if this agreement doesn't stipulate that, then we have to be really clear about how long that's going to stay up, and then it has to happen that way.
Just to go back to the first point, absolutely, those sessions where we take some public input on the access, there will be access to the lake. That will not be cut off. U.S. Rowing is adamant that they want this to be a community-focused event. So they're adamant that there's access that remains there as well. So it's not just us locals that want that access. U.S. Rowing's adamant that that needs to exist as well. The event dates in there include the setup and teardown dates, that not just the event dates where the event actually occurs, it's the setup and teardown dates inclusive of those in the agreement as well for RowFest.
Including the structure.
Yeah,
Including the
yes,
track, so
yep.
the track will,
Yeah,
the buoys,
the
all
setup and the
that, right?
teardown are inclusive of those dates. We built those dates in extra on the front end and the back end, just so that the township and the staff and everybody understood what the dates were we had access to that park for setup and for teardown.
Other? Yes, Trustee Rowe?
So what is the cost to the public going to be to come to the
It'll be $10 for a special event ticket.
$10? That includes putting your boat in too, or do you want to
If
watch
they're going
the
for
water?
boating, yes.
Thank you.
And the last thing I'll add too is EMU, we have talked about I'll call it a buoy plan, because that's what Kim sent over. So it's something we've been discussing with them that we can send out to the board and, I'd say to the public as need be with what the plan is for the year for when the buoys will be in and how many. So I think they've heard our comments about last year and maybe getting excited and leaving them in a little too long, because now, they've been very beneficial and very generous in giving us what their plan is for this year and asking our permission and working with us to not, again, hinder the access for anyone to use the lake.
So if they've been generous with giving that information, then do we have a plan for how we're going to make sure residents know that, yep, the course is out there and this is a time frame with which it will be not out there? Like, is that part of the communication plan so that when we say we're going to let people know, I think more information is probably better than not, and kind of keeping that to ourselves.
We agree 100%. The more information, the better. Those sessions will include what the lake will look like during these time periods, how it comes together. We will have information on when the event starts and ends, including when the buoys will be up. That can all be included on there. The next step, once we get approval from this group, is to sit down with township staff, ourselves, EMU, and we have weekly planning calls with U.S. Rowing to talk through those things as well, to say, all right, what do we need to identify? What needs to be here? Those public comment sessions, we can take that into consideration as well to make sure that we continue to update up and through the event in July as well. So we've got some time to ramp up and have those conversations and make people aware of what exists and when it exists on the lake.
Thing. So the Magdalen Lake, a long time ago when I was a trustee, but so after we have an event, I think the idea that input can be given after the event, not just from staff and from staff and from your group. I think it's important after it's done for us to learn maybe things that we're not going to know from residents who either live on the lake or people who visited. So somehow we've got to get information back after the event so we can plan, because it is a course of one of just a few. And so we want to make sure that the lake just doesn't become someone else's use for that when we have so many other things that people want to do on the lake. So again, I'm not anti-rowing. I just really want to learn from the mistakes that, or concerns residents brought to me that were fair criticisms, that we didn't get enough input. And there are people in our community who know. And so I just want to make sure that we don't make that mistake, which means if this is our first event and we're learning, then we've got to allow for that opportunity to come back to us every time if somebody wants to be able to give that feedback.
Yeah, and I was going to add too, when it comes to the signage being put together, the plan is to put that on our website in about 2 different locations, one being under Ford Lake Park, with, again, kind of that idea for the plan for the year as well, again, so residents know. And as well as the plan, also have a mention of the events going on, like RowFest especially. So I know that's one space we could utilize to extra sentence of, to send your comments and concerns to the rsd.info@ytownship.org, but again, let them know that there's a consistent line of communication that can be had.
I'd also add, too, our hope is that at the conclusion of this event, it is impactful and felt in the township, and the residents see the value of not just the visibility of having the event here, but the economic impact it provides to the community. The businesses around here feel that, but the residents feel a sense of pride and joy having this event here that they can spectate, participate, and call home. You are correct. This is one of only a handful of locations in the country that has the ability to even host this event, and that's a point of pride for us that I think we hope our community carries forward after the event. So gathering post-communication and feedback will be important to us. We also are conducting an impact study during this event to understand the value economically and from a community standpoint of what this event brought to our region and what it really means. So that'll be conducted during that event as well, which will include some comment from participants, community members, and others as well, for us to kind of detail that out afterwards and report out after the event back to you all and our community as a whole, what that impact was and what the response was as well.
So maybe the impact has to also include, can I ask for permission? The impact on like even property owners too, because it's not like it's maybe like one of our parks where it's the park, and if we hold an event in it, it isn't necessarily property owners that are impacted, but we do have people who have property. We don't own all the exclusive property around the lake. And so having the ability to get that, yes, from businesses, yes, the economic impact, and probably also finding out the economic impact for the county, because you're a county organization, and our local economy. Somehow we're going to have to be able to differentiate between those two, and then to get input from people who also, maybe some people who live on the lake. I mean, I would advocate for the idea that maybe as we move forward, we look for some residents along the lake, or at least a committee member when we're doing this, so that you can have that perspective, which I think is really important.
I have another question. Sorry.
Trustee Rowe?
What about food and vendor trucks and those kinds of things? I mean, you're going to have a big crowd, right? I mean, is that
So,
being organized, and are those going to be local? I
Yeah,
hope they're local.
local food trucks that our community events manager has.
People from Ypsilanti Township.
Ypsilanti surrounding area,
Our
but yeah,
businesses.
she's connected with the food trucks and make sure they pass all the permits and have all the insurances and everything that's needed.
But Aldi's and Kroger's and Aubrey's Pizza, the hotels and
I mean,
stuff.
this is the rowing event of the year for the rowing community. I mean, the amount of folks that they say they're going to come here is it's going to be impressive, and it's going to be something to see, and it should be benefit to all the businesses in Ypsilanti Township.
John, sorry, can I add real quick too? For the local economic part, hi, I'm Megan Hughes, Director of the Sports Commission. That Robin, with John's team too, is working with local vendors to have a little art area, craft show area for all the local areas and booths that Robin works with, to also give those vendors an opportunity to make some sales from all the participants coming from the rowing event.
Thank you, Sarah. Sir?
Yeah, hi. My name is Dave Sellers. I've lived on the lake 27 years, and I'm one of the pushbacks to Debbie in regards to input from the residents that do live on the lake. And my number one concern is the safety of water skiers and jet skiers when they are around the area where those buoys are part of that course. And when I first seen those, I Googled a quick search of accidents where water skiers get tangled up in those cords, and there are numerous incidents of not on rowing courses, but just with buoyed courses, people getting tangled up in the line. So that's always been one of my concerns. So I would like to maybe afterwards get your number so I could hook up with you, so I could give you some input. So I'm not only complaining to Debbie, but I can give you direct input.
Thank you. That's an excellent suggestion. Just for clarification, both of these are facility use agreements in the packet. So they're titled the same.
Yeah, but
They're two different.
One of them said regatta, and one didn't say the Road Fest was on the title, and the regatta one wasn't, April.
Says Ford Lake Cup is one of them.
Yeah, something different. But I'm clear.
Okay, I just want to make, just for clarity,
Well, and there was a clarification on the packet too, because one of the agreements we sent again, so trustee Lovejoy Rowe, if that's what you were looking at, we had the packet on Friday that went out that didn't have both of them in.
No, I was looking at the one sheet, the recent one.
Okay, all right.
Supervisor Stumber, may I make one more comment? This is a unique event. It's something that's new to all of us. We're all learning and working with this, including U.S. Rowing, our community. But I do want to say we appreciate Supervisor Stumber, Mr. Winters, and Mr. Hines and his team as well working through this. It's a process. There's a lot of communication that's been put into this, a lot of calls, a lot of emails, a lot of meetings with U.S. Rowing. They've been here multiple times to visit, to walk the site, to meet with the staff, to understand what our community and who our community is. And that's very important to them, that this is a unique, authentic event. They want it to represent who we are and not make it something that you might see in another community. That's important to them. So I feel excited about the group that we're working with this event, and really appreciate the support of the township staff through this process a lot. It is a lot to work through and get to where we are right now. So I do appreciate the effort and work to this point.
Thank you. It's scary because it's a big event, but with a lot of support and a lot of information being sent out, that it should be successful.
So thank you for coming back with all that. I appreciate that. And Mr. Sellers, I appreciate you for attending the meeting. I don't look at it as a complaint, but we're all going to have blind spots. And so if we don't have people let us know where some of the blind spots are, then it makes it harder for us to lead for everybody. So thank you for that. And really, you shared a lot of new information that just helped me. So thank you. I appreciate it.
So the motion is to approve the two contracts with Destination Ann Arbor for Row Fest 2025 and the Ford Lake Regatta or Ford Lake Cup.
Ford Lake Cup.
That's used, so it's Ford Lake Cup. Okay. Contingent upon attorney's final approval.
Madam Chair, I think probably if I can help out somewhat, I sent a letter out yesterday with a detailed red line changes to the Ford Lake Cup, because that was the most pressing event, because it's going to be actually held in about 3 weeks, or 3.5 weeks. And I think that the intent, when I got the agreement on, I think from John on Wednesday, was at least to make the changes. I believe that you've already accepted those changes.
Yeah, correct.
I think I asked
That's
you
correct,
today
yes.
and everything. So the final contract that'll be signed, or usage agreement that will be approved, will contain a number of changes that has yet to be edited and put into a format for the clerk and supervisor to sign. There are a number of other comments that will be discussed in regards to the Row Fest, which is not until July, that we still need to work out some of those details. And as you mentioned right now, this event in April may give us like a trial run as to how some things may turn out that we're not expecting that can be incorporated into the July Row Fest agreement. So I just wanted to get the clarification that I've not yet come to a final edits on the Row Fest, but I have on the Ford Lake Cup Regatta.
Okay. So the,
Do you need an amendment or not?
I think
I just trying to
Eldridge.
clarify that you're approving it contingent upon attorney.
That's what I'd like to say, yeah.
I just trying to clarify that
One of them's a month later.
it will be a final form, but the Row Fest is still a work in progress.
We're close.
Sorry?
Are we close?
I think so, but
Okay.
I think so. I hope so, yes.
So a motion to approve it contingent upon attorney's approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Winter. Authorization and bids, accept the bid for $364,000 from the Diamond Firm, Inc. for the Apple Ridge Park Playground replacement and walkway paving, which is funded through the Washtenaw County Development Block Grant Program.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Thornton. Mr. Hines?
John Hines, Municipal Service Director. So we are requesting authorization to accept the recommendation from Spicer Group for the award to authorize and sign the agreement when prepared by the county and Spicer for the Diamond Firm for $364,000, and that would be for the paving of the walkway and replacement of the playground at Apple Ridge Park, which is budgeted in the BSR 2 fund, and this is funded through a Washtenaw County Development Block Grant. This is a block grant from the county that is for the 21, 22, and 23 years, and those have been combined to one fund for this project, which is for Apple Ridge Park, and again is to pave the current gravel walkway and replace the entire pathway, replace the entire playground, excuse me. So the Diamond Firm was recommended by Spicer. They were the third lowest bidder. The lowest bidder was Best Asphalt, who unfortunately had to withdraw their bid due to not including something in their pricing, so it was an incomplete bid. And then the second lowest was from Premier Group Associates, and just due to experience on their work with park restoration, we felt it was best to look at the third lowest option, the Diamond Firm. And I'll give credit to Spicer Group for being very extensive in doing a reference check on the Diamond Firm, because it's something that they have not, or the township has not worked with before. But the Diamond Firm provided a list of their subcontractors, as well as references, and both references for the Diamond Firm as well as their subcontractor references were contacted and were given a big vote of support for this project. So Spicer feels comfortable moving forward with them. The Diamond Firm does plan to be basically a general contractor for this job. They're going to contract with an asphalt company to do the paving, and then contract with Landscape Structures to do the playground replacement. And Landscape Structures is the company of which Spicer utilized for the bid specs for the playground. So no one better to replace it than them. If this would be approved, the contract process between Spicer Group and the county would be sent to Attorney Winters after it is prepared. It will take a few weeks, but the goal would be for a summer 2025 completion with the full project completion, all documentation filed by, I believe, November of this year.
Questions or comments? Trustee Rowe?
So we're replacing the equipment, the playground structures themselves?
Yes, it'll be replacement of the playground structures, as well as removing the mulch and replacing the edging of the playground, as well as the base to the playground mulch, and then putting new fiber mulch in its place.
Are we working like with the residents there?
They did.
They did, okay, that's all.
Yeah, they had.
All right,
We did public input before we went out to bid.
thank you.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
There's
you.
no other business. Are there any public comments?
J.R. Mahaley. I live by Harrison Grove, and last fall, actually was able to get my bike out. Where I moved from, I didn't have a car for 6 years, so I lived in the city of Dexter, so I was able to use a bike to get to the grocery store and in town and a lot. And out there, they had been making some improvements for quite some time on the B2B trail, where now they're actually connecting, Dexter to Chelsea through it. And if you go to Chelsea, the trail now extends halfway up to Stockbridge on M52. Reason why I'm bringing that up is I get here and I see on the map where the B2B trail is, and it makes absolutely no sense. Okay? Reason why I'm saying is I can get to it, then it takes me then to Rossville Road, it ends. It would make more sense to have a circular access around Ford Lake for the B2B trail. So you can go to Bridge Road, make a right off Harris, whatever, and still keep going and make the whole circle around as part of the B2B trail would make more sense. At another city council meeting I went to recently, one of the residents or one of the workers and a whole group of people took the time to ride a bike to all the city and Ann Arbor parks. And they said it took them 96 miles in one day to ride all the parks. And living from Dexter and seeing what people have done out there and how they access and utilize the trail, it can be done here. It just needs to be done in a way where it makes it more sense. So I can get on and puddle jump those islands and get to North Bay and get to the end of it on my bike, but I can't even get even safely across the road because there's no sidewalk to access to really, I'm stuck. You know what I mean? I don't like riding my bike on the road. I go from one equation, F equals MA. Cars are 10 times the size of me. They'll, you know what I mean? But if, I don't know who I'd talk to or whatnot, but if you build it better, more people would access it better. And the city of Ypsilanti has the same issue because they hijacked the trail right through the middle of the city, which makes absolutely no sense. And all those stops, and people who want to ride their bike, they will want to stop like that a lot. But that's just from my experience. If I could find out who I could talk to about that, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or public comments? Hearing none? Are there board member comments? Trustee Rowe?
You want to go? You go ahead. Okay. I just wanted to say, I don't know if you're aware of, but the Belleville girls basketball team took state first. And so I know in the past we've done resolutions, and I was kind of, I know one of the parents of one of the girls. He was actually an election worker. I don't know if he still works for the township. But anyways, he gave me the coach's name. And so I was going to try to put together some stats and was wondering if that was all right, Deb, if I just send them to you and we could put together a resolution and invite them. Yeah. So I'll work on that and get this stuff to you. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very good. The only thing I have to report, I'm sorry, Trustee Peterson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't even know if I can talk right now. But anyway, let me apologize for being late. I was literally sitting at my house waiting for the meeting to start. And I had so many calls today, the time just threw me off. Okay. I was just surprised to see everybody. I thought it was like 10 minutes to 6. I was surprised everybody was sitting in there 10 minutes to 6. So I apologize. I misinterpreted the time. Unbelievable. I've never done that. But crap happens, okay? Thank you.
It does. The biggest issue that we've had in the past 2 weeks, we met with the accounting director, the 3 full-time officials, accounting director, and legal counsel on the millages that are expiring this year, and they'll be coming to the next board meeting. If the board agrees, we're looking at renewals only, and no increases, and the language pretty much to stay the same, so there'll be no changes in it. That's, to me, one of the most pressing issues that we have. So, thank you. Motion to adjourn? Motion. Support Eldridge? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned 7:18.